They had the money, the power, and the fame. But what happened when the camera stopped rolling at Southfork? We're uncovering the secrets and the scars left behind by the cast of Dallas. You won't believe the toll 40 years has taken on these icons. One star's current life is absolutely haunting. Brad Pitt as Randy. Born on December 18, 1963 in Shawnee, Oklahoma, the future Hollywood heavyweight first brought his charisma to the small screen on the massively popular soap opera Dallas, which originally premiered in 1978. At the age of 23, Pitt stepped into the role of Randy, the carefree teenage boyfriend of Charlie Wade. Although Randy was only a minor character in a 4-episode arc during the show's 11th season, Pitt's portrayal of the all-American youth became a memorable footnote in television history. His appearance highlighted the cultural power of Dallas as an iconic primetime juggernaut that captured the nation's attention, offering audiences an early glimpse of the undeniable star quality that would eventually reshape the entertainment industry. Despite the character's confident, extroverted demeanor and his involvement in typical teen soap opera antics, Brad Pitt was naturally much more grounded, introspective, and uncertain during this period of his life. Early in his career, Pitt faced the heavy frustration of being typecast as just another pretty face or the quintessential wonder-bred television heartthrob, which made it incredibly difficult for him to land roles with genuine dramatic depth. He had to endure a string of uncredited background parts, fleeting guest appearances on sitcoms he actively wanted to avoid, and the harsh professional sting of short-lived series cancellations, such as his starring role in the 1990 show Glory Days, before finally getting the chance to prove his serious acting chops. Brad Pitt eventually transcended his early television hardships to become one of the most acclaimed and bankable movie stars in cinema history, starring in monumental hits like Fight Club, Thelma and Louise, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Over the decades, his personal life, including his high-profile marriages and subsequent divorces from Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie, has been the subject of relentless global media scrutiny. At 62, he remains an immensely influential and active figure in Hollywood, continuing to act and produce award-winning films through his production company, Plan B Entertainment. Today, he balances his enduring status as an A-list leading man with his ongoing philanthropic endeavors and the complexities of his highly publicized family life. Larry Hagman as J.R. Ewing. Born on September 21, 1931 in Fort Worth, Texas, the actor stepped into the boots of one of television's most notorious villains when Dallas premiered in 1978. At the age of 46, Hagman's portrayal of the scheming, ruthless Texas oil baron became a global cultural phenomenon. His grinning, manipulative character anchored the primetime soap opera for 14 seasons, turning the 1980 cliffhanger, "Who Shot J.R.?" into one of the most watched and talked about moments in television history, firmly establishing him as the ultimate antagonist that audiences loved to hate. Despite the character's greedy, treacherous, and cutthroat nature on screen, Larry Hagman was in reality the polar opposite. Known by friends and colleagues as a deeply amiable, eccentric, and peace-loving individual, he championed causes like solar energy and famously stayed silent on Sundays as a personal discipline. While he ultimately relished his time on Dallas, his professional journey was marked by significant struggles. Before finding his career-defining success, he endured the sting of multiple show cancellations in the 1970s, including the short-lived sitcoms The Good Life and Here We Go Again, all while battling the heavy comedic typecasting from his earlier hit, I Dream of Jeannie. Even after his massive success as J.R., the immense shadow of the Ewing patriarch, made it difficult for him to find work that didn't just capitalize on his oil tycoon persona. His personal life was also marked by hardship, most notably a severe decades-long battle with alcoholism. Hagman spent his later years advocating for organ donation, having undergone a life-saving liver transplant in 1995 and continuing to act sporadically in television and film. He remained devoted to his wife, Major Axelson, whom he married in 1954 and cared for her as she eventually battled Alzheimer's disease. He gleefully reprised his iconic role as J.R. Ewing in the TNT revival of Dallas in 2012, proving his enduring connection to the character. Hagman passed away on November 23, 2012, at the age of 81 from complications of acute myeloid leukemia at a hospital in Dallas, Texas. Patrick Duffy as Bobby Ewing. Born on March 17, 1949 in Townsend, Montana, Patrick Duffy was a working actor when he landed his career-defining television role. At the age of 29, Duffy was cast as Bobby Ewing in the primetime soap opera Dallas, which debuted in 1978. Bobby served as the enduring moral compass of the Ewing family, providing a righteous and compassionate contrast to his ruthless older brother, J.R. Ewing. Duffy's portrayal of the handsome and principled oil heir became a massive cultural touchstone, cementing him as a television heartthrob, and culminating in one of pop culture's most infamous moments, the legendary shower scene that resurrected his character and dismissed an entire season as a dream, proving just how vital his presence was to the series' unprecedented global success. While Bobby Ewing was constantly embroiled in cutthroat corporate espionage, extravagant wealth, and dramatic family feuds, Patrick Duffy was a grounded practicing Buddhist who preferred a quiet life away from the Hollywood spotlight, though he certainly shared his character's inherent decency. Duffy's career was heavily marked by the professional struggle of being typecast. Fearing he would never be seen as anyone other than the youngest Ewing brother, he chose to leave Dallas in 1985 to pursue different and more challenging dramatic roles. Unfortunately, he found it immensely difficult to secure the steady film and television work he desired outside of the soap genre, leading to his heavily publicized return to the show just a year later. Beyond his professional hurdles, Duffy also endured an unimaginable personal nightmare during the height of his fame in 1986, when both of his parents were tragically murdered during an armed robbery at their Montana tavern. Despite these devastating hardships, Duffy pushed forward to build a resilient and prolific career in television. He successfully expanded his acting repertoire by starring as the easygoing patriarch Frank Lambert in the hit 90s sitcom Step by Step, which ran for 7 seasons and later appeared in the daytime soap The Bold and the Beautiful. In his personal life, Duffy was deeply devoted to his wife Carlin Rosser for 43 years until she passed from cancer in 2017. He eventually found love again during the pandemic with actress Linda Pearl, with whom he started a successful sourdough bread starter business called Duffy's Dough. At 77, he remains an active and warmly regarded figure in the entertainment industry, having successfully navigated the highs and lows of fame while preserving the legacy of one of television's most iconic good guys. Priscilla Presley as Jenna Wade. Born on May 24, 1945 in Brooklyn, New York, Priscilla Presley stepped into the glitzy, high-stakes world of the hit primetime soap opera Dallas in 1983. At the age of 38, Presley took over the role of Jenna Wade, becoming the third actress to play Bobby Ewing's childhood sweetheart, but the first to make the character truly her own. Her portrayal was an undeniable success, transforming Jenna into one of the show's most popular leading ladies and an instant audience favorite. For 5 years, she brought romantic turmoil and fierce independence to Southfork Ranch, solidifying her status as a bona fide television star and proving to a massive global audience that she was far more than just a famous ex-wife. Despite the character's frequent entanglement in emotional melodrama and scandalous love triangles, Priscilla Presley was known in her real life for her incredible resilience, sharp business acumen, and fiercely guarded privacy. This contrast was central to her personal and professional journey as she constantly had to fight the immense overshadowing legacy of her previous marriage to Elvis Presley. In her early acting career, she faced skepticism from critics who initially viewed her casting as a mere publicity stunt. Furthermore, as her time on Dallas concluded in 1988, she faced the daunting struggle of soap opera typecasting, finding it difficult to be taken seriously in different genres. To break free from the melodramatic mold and prove her versatility, she actively sought out comedic roles, brilliantly reinventing her on-screen persona with her deadpan humor in the Naked Gun film franchise. At 80, Priscilla Presley remains a formidable and deeply respected figure in both business and entertainment. Over the decades, she transformed Elvis Presley Enterprises and Graceland into a globally successful multi-million-dollar tourist empire, ensuring her family's financial security and legacy. Her later years, however, have been marked by profound personal tragedies alongside her triumphs, most notably the sudden and heartbreaking passing of her only daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, in early 2023. Despite enduring such devastating grief, she continues to fiercely protect her family's heritage, having recently produced the acclaimed 2023 biographical film Priscilla, which shared her own deeply personal life story. Linda Gray as Sue Ellen Ewing. Born on September 12, 1940 in Santa Monica, California, the former model began her career in television commercials before landing the defining role of her life on Dallas. At the age of 37, Gray's portrayal of Sue Ellen Ewing, the long-suffering, gin-swilling wife of ruthless oil magnate J.R. Ewing, became a television phenomenon. Originally intended to be a mere background character, her riveting performance transformed Sue Ellen into one of the most compelling and iconic figures of 1980s primetime television. For 11 seasons, her depiction of a woman battling severe alcoholism and a toxic marriage resonated deeply with audiences, earning her an Emmy nomination and 2 Golden Globe nods while reflecting the changing dynamics of women's roles in society. Despite playing a tragic, manipulated woman plagued by addiction, Linda Gray's real personality was the polar opposite. She was grounded, remarkably positive, and a highly professional force on set. This contrast made diving into Sue Ellen's dark emotional depths a heavy but rewarding challenge. Off-screen, Gray faced significant professional hurdles, particularly the intense sexism of a male-dominated industry. When renegotiating her contract in the 1980s, she simply asked for the same opportunity to direct that her male co-stars had received. In response, producers fired her, and she was only rehired after Larry Hagman threatened to quit the show in solidarity. After eventually leaving Dallas in 1989, she also wrestled with the stigma of being heavily typecast as a vengeful soap opera queen, navigating short-lived series like Models Inc., as she fought to redefine her career outside of Southfork Ranch. Linda Gray persevered to build a vibrant and diverse career across television, film, and theater. She notably transitioned to the stage, starring as Mrs. Robinson in the West End and Broadway productions of The Graduate, a poetic triumph given her own legs were famously used for the 1967 film's iconic promotional poster. She has also weathered profound personal heartbreak, including the tragic loss of her son Jeff to leukemia in 2020. As of 2026, at the age of 85, Gray remains a revered Hollywood trailblazer celebrated for her resilience, grace, and enduring impact on American television. Victoria Principal as Pamela Barnes Ewing. Born on January 3, 1950 in Fukuoka, Japan to a military family, Victoria Principal moved to Hollywood to pursue acting before landing her career-defining role on Dallas. At the age of 28, Principal's portrayal of the warm and morally grounded Pamela Barnes Ewing became a cultural touchstone, offering a gripping primetime depiction of a modern Romeo and Juliet dynamic alongside her on-screen husband Bobby Ewing. For 9 seasons, her presence as the moral compass of the warring Texas oil families defined a character that remains one of television's most iconic and beloved figures. Despite the character's universally compassionate, vulnerable, and frequently victimized nature, Victoria Principal was fiercely independent, intensely private, and an astute businesswoman who was entirely different from the all-good Pamela. This contrast was a significant part of her personal journey. She deliberately maintained an outsider status on set, keeping her distance from the cast to better channel her character's isolation within the Ewing family. Her career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast, which ultimately drove her to make the difficult decision to leave the show in 1987 to avoid sealing her fate in the industry. The aftermath of her departure brought professional hardships as she fought to separate her identity from Pam Ewing, and the subsequent television films produced under her own company struggled to replicate the monumental success she had found on Dallas. Victoria Principal eventually pivoted away from Hollywood, launching her highly lucrative skincare empire Principal Secret in 1989 and officially retiring from acting in 2001. After nearly 3 decades of massive success in the beauty industry, she stepped down from her company in 2019 to focus entirely on her philanthropic efforts and her deep love for animal rescue. At 76, she is thriving in her golden years, living out of the public eye on her California rescue ranch, where she rehabilitates horses, ponies, and other animals through the Victoria Principal Foundation for Thoughtful Existence. Although she recently faced challenges including a bout of pneumonia and having to evacuate her beloved animals during severe California wildfires, she remains a dedicated advocate for environmental causes and rescue work, finding peaceful fulfillment far removed from the dramatic spotlight of Southfork Ranch. Deborah Shelton as Mandy Winger. Born on November 21, 1948, the Washington, D.C. native and former Miss USA brought high-fashion glamour to the hit nighttime soap opera Dallas in 1984. At the age of 35, Shelton's portrayal of Mandy Winger, who evolved from Cliff Barnes's love interest into J.R. Ewing's longest-running and most famous mistress, became a prime-time television sensation. Her impact on the show was so immense that when the character was initially written out, a massive outpouring of fan mail convinced producers to bring her back, cementing her status as an iconic figure of 1980s television. Despite the character's ultra-wealthy, drama-filled lifestyle and calculated seductions, Deborah Shelton was a self-described tomboy in her real life, grounded and entirely different from the glamorous vixen she played on screen. This contrast was a significant part of her personal journey, but it also contributed to professional hardships. Shelton struggled heavily with being typecast. The overwhelming global popularity of Dallas meant she was inextricably linked to the beautiful mistress trope. She found it incredibly difficult to shed the image of the other woman, to be taken seriously in dramatic roles, often recalling that fans and casting directors alike would simply call her Mandy, no matter where she traveled in the world. Deborah Shelton continued to work in television and film, delivering a memorable performance in Brian De Palma's 1984 thriller Body Double, and making guest appearances on various shows throughout the 1990s and 2000s. She fully embraced her soap opera legacy by reprising the role of Mandy Winger in 2013 for J.R. Ewing's emotional on-screen memorial service during the TNT Dallas reboot. At 77, she is living a quiet retirement remembered fondly by legions of devoted fans as one of the definitive television beauties of her era. Cathy Podwell as Callie Harper Ewing. Born on January 27, 1964 in Evanston, Illinois, the actress made her mark on the long-running primetime soap opera, Dallas. At the age of 24, Podwell's portrayal of the young, naive waitress who becomes the second wife of the nefarious J.R. Ewing captivated audiences. Introduced through a dramatic shotgun wedding storyline in 1988, Callie Harper provided a fresh, youthful dynamic to the cutthroat world of the Ewing family. For several seasons, her character's evolution from an innocent country girl into a resilient woman capable of holding her own against television's most iconic oil tycoon became a highly memorable part of the show's rich cultural legacy. Despite playing a dramatic, occasionally manipulative trophy wife embroiled in wild soap opera plots, Cathy Podwell was inherently grounded, private, and heavily focused on her real-life family, a stark contrast to the chaotic life of Callie Harper. After being thrust into international stardom, Podwell found the intense Hollywood spotlight to be at odds with her personal priorities. Her career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast. Following her run on Dallas and her starring role in the 1988 horror cult classic Night of the Demons, she faced difficulty finding mainstream roles that didn't pigeonhole her as a naive Southern belle or a genre scream queen. Frustrated by the lack of diverse opportunities and the grueling nature of the industry, she consciously chose to step back from the competitive audition circuit to focus on a quieter, more stable life. Cathy Podwell largely disappeared from Hollywood for nearly 2 decades, taking on only brief guest spots in the 1990s on shows like Beverly Hills 90210 and Walker, Texas Ranger, before beginning a long acting hiatus. Inspired by her warm reception at fan conventions, she eventually returned to the screen in indie horror films like 2021's Reunion from Hell. As of 2026, at the age of 62, Podwell remains happily married and continues to embrace her unique place in television history, while gracefully balancing her enduring family life with her reignited passion for acting. Barbara Carrera as Angelica Nero. Born on December 31, 1945 in San Carlos, Nicaragua, the former fashion model and actress brought her striking presence to the 9th season of the iconic primetime soap opera Dallas. At the age of 39, Carrera's portrayal of the seductive, brilliant, and utterly ruthless international shipping magnate Angelica Nero became a thrilling highlight of the series. Her character introduced high-stakes danger and manipulation to the Ewing family's orbit, offering audiences an unforgettable villainess whose ambition culminated in a dramatic bombing storyline that left a lasting mark on 1980s television. Despite playing a volatile, scheming, and extroverted antagonist on screen, Barbara Carrera was intensely private and deeply protective of her personal life, preferring a quiet existence far removed from the Hollywood spotlight. This stark contrast was a significant part of her journey. While Angelica Nero demanded center stage, Carrera sought the solitude of an artist. Professionally, she faced the persistent struggle of being typecast as the exotic bad girl or dangerous femme fatale, a pigeonhole that made it difficult for her to find varied and substantive work. This industry repetition led her to turn down numerous scripts. Furthermore, her impactful stint on Dallas met a uniquely disheartening fate, because the entire 9th season was famously retconned as Pam Ewing's dream. Angelica Nero was abruptly wiped from the show's continuity, effectively erasing her character's existence and hard work from the series entirely. Barbara Carrera eventually chose to step away from the entertainment industry to focus on her profound passions for art and diplomacy. She became an accomplished painter, with her artwork successfully exhibited in prestigious galleries across Beverly Hills and London. Her personal life included 3 marriages, though she has no children and has remained comfortably independent. As of 2026, at the age of 80, Carrera lives a quiet, retired life in Los Angeles, largely remaining out of the public eye while still occasionally making appearances at James Bond fan conventions to honor her cinematic legacy. Mary Crosby as Kristen Shepard. Born on September 14, 1959 in Los Angeles, California, the daughter of legendary crooner Bing Crosby first brought Kristen to life when she took over the role on Dallas during its 3rd season. At the age of 20, Crosby's portrayal of Sue Ellen Ewing's scheming, seductive younger sister became a massive television sensation and a definitive pop culture touchstone. Her character famously pulled the trigger on J.R. Ewing, sparking the global "Who Shot J.R." phenomenon. When the culprit was finally revealed in November 1980, the broadcast became one of the most-watched episodes in television history, securing Kristen Shepard's legacy as one of primetime soap opera's most unforgettable figures. Despite the character's manipulative, treacherous, and deeply flawed nature, Mary Crosby was grounded, gracious, and described by peers as the polar opposite of the villainous Kristen. This stark contrast was a significant part of her professional journey. She initially did not identify with Kristen's deceitful tactics or enjoy being viewed merely as a villainous object. Her career was profoundly marked by the struggle of being heavily typecast, which made it incredibly difficult for her to land diverse roles outside the shadow of the woman who launched her to fame. Because Kristen's storyline culminated with the character's sudden and tragic death, found floating in the Southfork Ranch swimming pool, Crosby's regular tenure on the show came to an abrupt end, leaving her to navigate an industry that primarily viewed her as the answer to a famous trivia question. Mary Crosby continued to work in television and film for decades, finding roles in the sci-fi comedy The Ice Pirates and the acclaimed miniseries Hollywood Wives, as well as making a special guest appearance in the 1991 Dallas series finale. As of 2026, at the age of 66, she is happily retired from the constant demands of the entertainment industry, enjoying a quiet and rural life with her husband in Malibu, California. Though largely away from the screen today, her singular contribution to television history remains as potent as ever. Christopher Atkins as Peter Richards. Born on February 21, 1961, the Rye, New York native first skyrocketed to fame as a teenage heartthrob before joining the hit primetime soap opera Dallas for its 1983 to 1984 season. At the age of 22, Atkins's portrayal of Peter Richards, a young, handsome camp counselor who engages in a highly publicized and scandalous affair with the much older Sue Ellen Ewing, became a major television event. His addition to the show capitalized on his status as a global idol and provided Dallas with one of its most memorable and controversial storylines, cementing his place in 1980s pop culture. Despite playing a sensationalized boy toy and Hollywood heartthrob on screen, Christopher Atkins was naturally a grounded, outdoorsy individual who preferred the ocean and athletic pursuits to the glitz and pressure of celebrity life. This contrast made navigating his skyrocketing fame incredibly challenging. His career was heavily marked by the struggle of being typecast. For years, producers primarily wanted to cast him in roles that required him to take his shirt off or play the naive romantic lead, making it difficult for him to find work as a serious, mature actor once his initial teen idol phase passed. In addition to these professional roadblocks, Atkins faced a devastating betrayal when his former manager embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars from him, leaving him nearly broke and forcing him to completely rebuild his life and career from the ground up. Christopher Atkins eventually overcame these setbacks by diversifying his pursuits and returning to his passion for the outdoors. Over the decades, he has continued to take on independent film roles, television guest spots, and producing projects while staying connected with fans at nostalgia conventions. At 65, he remains active in both business and the entertainment industry, enjoying a peaceful personal life alongside his children and grandson. Sheree J. Wilson as April Stevens. Born on December 12, 1958 in Rochester, Minnesota, the former fashion model transitioned into acting before joining the cast of Dallas in its 10th season. At the age of 27, Wilson's portrayal of the cunning and ambitious April Stevens injected new life into the prime-time soap opera. Initially introduced as a villainous femme fatale out for her ex-husband's wealth, her character evolved into a beloved heroine who eventually won the heart of Bobby Ewing. Despite the character's manipulative, cutthroat, and scheming on-screen persona, Sheree J. Wilson was known in real life as a deeply grounded, vivacious, and nature-loving woman who prioritized family and philanthropy over ruthless ambition. This stark contrast ultimately influenced her career path. When she became pregnant with her first child, she found the grueling television schedule challenging and personally requested to be killed off the show. Believing Dallas was nearing its final cancellation, she asked for a grand exit to focus on motherhood. However, this decision led to a significant professional sting. The network ultimately renewed the show and later revived it for subsequent reunion movies and a full reboot series. Because her character had been definitively machine-gunned down, Wilson was permanently locked out of returning to the massive franchise, a career miscalculation she later openly regretted. Sheree J. Wilson successfully rebounded and found a second television family starring as Assistant District Attorney Alex Cahill opposite Chuck Norris on Walker, Texas Ranger from 1993 to 2001. As of 2026, at the age of 67, she remains an active figure in the entertainment industry and a dedicated philanthropist. The mother of 2 sons, she resides in Texas with her husband Vince Morella, whom she married in 2018. She frequently appears in independent films and holiday television movies, and she currently runs her own production company, Sandalphon Entertainment. Beyond her continued acting and producing work, Wilson is deeply committed to charity, heavily supporting the National Multiple Sclerosis Society through the Yellow Rose Gala, and working with organizations that rescue horses to provide therapy for children with developmental disabilities. Audrey Landers as Afton Cooper. Born on July 18, 1956 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, The talented actress and singer first brought her signature charm to daytime soaps before joining the cast of the hit primetime drama Dallas, which premiered in 1978. At the age of 24, Lander's portrayal of the scheming yet fiercely loyal nightclub singer Afton Cooper became a cultural touchstone. Her character captivated audiences with her sultry musical performances and high-stakes romantic entanglements with J.R. Ewing and Cliff Barnes. For 84 episodes across 8 years, Lander's undeniable on-screen presence and melodic voice helped define a character that remains one of the iconic soap's most memorable figures. Despite her character's reputation as a manipulative and vixenish bombshell, Audrey Landers was incredibly driven, academically gifted, and described by those who knew her as far more grounded than Afton Cooper. A Juilliard-trained musician who also studied psychology at Columbia University, her real-life wholesomeness and intellect stood in stark contrast to her on-screen alter ego. This contrast proved to be a significant part of her professional journey. She openly discussed the frustration of the stigma associated with playing a sex symbol, finding it challenging when audiences and the industry conflated her genuine personality with her ditzy or unscrupulous characters. Her career was marked by the struggle of being typecast as the blonde seductress, which sometimes overshadowed her serious acting chops and made it difficult for her to be seen as more than a soap opera vixen in American television. Audrey Landers continued to work in entertainment for decades, successfully pivoting from American television to become a massive pop and pop rock music star in Europe, where she earned numerous gold and platinum records. She married businessman Donald Berkowitz in 1988, and together they had twin sons Adam and Daniel. Alongside her mother and business partner Ruth Landers, expanded her entrepreneurial footprint by creating the children's television series The Hugabug Club and launching a successful global fashion line. As of 2026, at the age of 69, she is alive and remains a celebrated figure deeply focused on her family, her multifaceted business ventures, and her enduring musical legacy. William Smithers as Jeremy Wendell. Born on July 10, 1927 in Richmond, Virginia, the classically trained actor first brought Jeremy Wendell to life on Dallas in 1981. At the age of 53, Smithers's portrayal of the ruthless West Star oil executive became a cultural touchstone, offering a prime-time depiction of corporate greed and power that was both compelling and historically significant. For 50 episodes across multiple seasons, his icy demeanor and commanding presence defined a character that served as J.R. Ewing's ultimate arch-nemesis, cementing Wendell as one of television's most formidable and iconic business titans. Despite the character's cold, calculating, and fiercely aggressive nature, William Smithers was a deeply artistic, stage-trained method actor with a passion for classical theater, rendering him the polar opposite of the conniving oil baron he played. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey. Transitioning from celebrated Broadway stages to playing a deliberately ruthless corporate villain was a unique creative challenge. His career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast in villainous roles, which often made it difficult for him to find diverse character work after establishing such a recognizable prime-time persona. He also endured severe professional hardships, notably after the cancellation of the short-lived series Executive Suite. The fallout resulted in a grueling legal battle against MGM over broken promises regarding his billing and credits, a highly stressful fight that lasted years and went all the way to the California Supreme Court. William Smithers continued to work in television and film for years, following his daytime and primetime soap successes, eventually retiring from the screen after a final 1994 appearance on Walker, Texas Ranger. He largely stepped away from Hollywood to focus on teaching and local theater in Santa Barbara, California, dedicating his later years to collaborating with his wife, the renowned acting instructor S. Lorraine Booz Hull. At 98, he is fully retired from acting and continues to live a quiet, private life in California, leaving behind a lasting legacy in Broadway history, iconic television villainy, and landmark entertainment law. Dallas paved the way for every great drama that followed, proving that family power and betrayal are universal themes. While the actors have aged, the characters they breathed life into are immortalized in the golden age of television. We want to hear from you which Ewing family secret was your absolute favorite. Tell us your thoughts in the comments and subscribe so you never miss a cast update.